Hey there, Central Ohio. I'm 10 Weather Impact meteorologist Michael Behrens back with another edition of the 10 Weather Impact Show. And you might have noticed that graphic to start things off with. 10 TV Weather Impact Alert Day. We've issued one going into Friday morning because that snowfall keeps creeping just a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier into the morning. And it now looks like it's going to impact a little bit more of the morning commute on Friday. It's not likely to be a major snowfall. We haven't really seen anything change with the totals. We're still expecting about 1 to 2 inches, but it's that timing that is making this more inconvenient, likely slowing you down and causing some issues for that morning drive in tomorrow. So 10 TV Weather Impact Alert Day from about 6 a.m. tomorrow through the midday. That's when the heaviest snowfall will be in place. Snow for that morning commute. Watch out for some slippery roads and plan to need a little extra time on that drive just in case. Again, this is not going to be the biggest snowfall. This is not what we saw a couple weeks ago when we had our alert days for snow. This is just more about what it's going to do specifically to some of your drive times out there on Friday. So again, plan for that little bit of extra time. We do have winter weather advisories that have come out as of the midday today as well. These will be in place from about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We still think most of the snow accumulation is going to be done by noon to early afternoon, but we could see some straggler bands of snow that may cause some impacts into the evening. Overall, though, again, most of the heavy snow is going to come in that first wave across the region, with what comes after that being more inconvenient than anything else. Not likely to really add too much to the snow totals when it's all said and done. Speaking of snow, still got plenty outside from that last big snow. We really haven't seen temperatures get all that warm since then. We had one day for about 30 minutes where we made it up to the freezing point here in Columbus. We'll make it back there tomorrow, but we'll be back in the cold for the weekend. So the snow that's outside still not going to be melting anytime soon. Maybe next week when we can string a couple days together of above freezing temperatures and get something a little warmer into the region, that we might be able to start to get rid of some of the snowfall. Outside right now, cold, 18 degrees looking toward downtown. Winds out there have brought the wind chill down about 10 from the air temperature. Feels like 8 degrees. The winds, though, take a look at the direction. Now coming in from the southwest. This is a warmer direction. This is going to help to pull in warmer air as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. And again, our temperatures are going up despite the snowfall that is heading our way as we work our way toward the end of the week. So if there's a positive to the snow coming, it's that our temperatures will get a little warmer at least for a day. Speaking of snow, right now radar is pretty quiet over central Ohio, but you don't have to look far to find a little bit of light snow activity. You head out west to the I-75 corridor, all the way from about just west of Toledo down through west of Dayton and almost to Cincinnati, dealing with a little bit of light snowfall this afternoon. That stretches back out into Indiana. The motion on this is a little toward us. We should see some minor flake activity that could come through this evening into tonight, but we're not expecting this to really be anything more than superficial snowflakes. Our accumulation potential is going to stay with the brunt of the snow as we head into the day tomorrow. But if you see a snowflake out there coming from this little area of activity toward our west, don't be shocked as we work our way through this evening and again into tonight. Outside right now, temperatures again colder than they were yesterday. We told you it was going to be a colder day today than Wednesday, and Wednesday was a colder day than Tuesday. Down 6 degrees from 24 hours ago here in Columbus, down 8 in Circleville, down 7 Newark, and in Mount Vernon. Everywhere at least a couple degrees colder than we were yesterday. We will again reverse this fortune heading toward tomorrow. Let's take a look at the temperatures and wind chills across the region. We have made it up to the 20s for a few spots out there, like Circleville, 22 right now, but it feels like 16. 25 Piketon, 26 Jackson and MacArthur. Those guys are the warm spots down toward the south. Most of the rest of us still in the teens. 18 again in Columbus, 18 Newark, 16 Washington Courthouse, and 17 in Marion at this hour. Temperatures out there should still warm up a little bit more before the day is done. Again, our winds are coming from the southwest now. We've got a little bit of that warmer flow coming in, and this should be staying into tonight. Tonight, not going to be nearly as cold as it was last night. We should only drop down into the teens across the region, avoiding those very cold single-digit air temperatures. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. Again, we still got a little bit of warming to do. We're expecting to make it into the low 20s here in Columbus before the afternoon is done. After that, it's back down into the teens heading through tonight. We're pretty solidly overcast as we head through the evening. Again, that stray snowflake a possibility, but as far as anything meaningful before tomorrow morning, not really expecting it in our forecast. Speaking of the forecast, heading toward tomorrow, colder temperatures out there, 35 degrees. Our colder temperatures today were out there, 35 degrees as we head toward tomorrow. The snow is the bigger problem that we'll have tomorrow. We're picking up about 1 to 2 inches of snowfall as that system comes through. That snow pretty likely in terms of when it will impact us tomorrow. 80% has been the forecast, 80% staying the forecast as we head toward tomorrow. So again, expect snow, especially for that morning time frame, sort of like mid-morning through the midday. Early afternoon, I think, is the biggest time for snow. As far as what we're looking at heading into the weekend, small chance for some isolated snow activity as we head into Sunday. Pretty quiet starting next week, but we started warm up and we see some activity, rain chances, maybe some rain snow mix chances start to push back into the forecast as we head later into the week. But the good news right now is this still looks to be a warming trend following that moisture. So we will be able to melt some snow out there, I think, in just a couple of days. That high tomorrow again in the 30s. Dropping for the weekend. Pretty cold on Saturday. This is going to be a bitter cold start to the weekend. We do boost those temperatures a little bit as we get into Sunday, up to about the mid-20s. We get above freezing as we head into early next week, and by Tuesday we could even be in the 40s. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel. But of course, we've got to get through the snow before we can get there. Here's a look hour by hour at what we can expect with our snow chances. Again, a few light flakes, flurries possible as we head through this evening into tonight. Working our way past midnight, that chance will continue. Might see an uptick in activity as we get toward about 6 a.m. But I think most of that heavier snow is really not going to push in until we get after that 8 o'clock hour. That's when we see more consistently moderate snow bands pushing their way in across central Ohio. This will become widespread by about 10 o'clock. Most all of us will be seeing snowfall of some kind through that 10, 11 o'clock noon hour as we head through Friday. I think kind of the worst cumulative impacts of the snow on the roads is likely to be for that lunch hour. So maybe bring lunch to the office on Friday versus heading out. I think this is going to be some of the most difficult road conditions. But then, of course, road crews will be working to clear things. And as we get into the afternoon, our temperature is actually expected to go above freezing. So that should help melt some of that snowfall as well and help road crews kind of easily clear it out of the way. As we get into the afternoon, evening, not totally done with the snow. We've got these bands that could work their way back in across the region. This will be more scattered. Minor accumulations possible under the heaviest bands, but in terms of widespread snow, not really expecting any kind of major accumulations after that first push of snowfall. This is mostly just going to be inconvenient for some brief slick spots and reductions in visibility. But even this starts to fade out as we head into Friday night. A few straggling flakes may make it into the early AM Saturday, but by the time we get to sunrise, we're looking at pretty much sunshine across the region heading into the weekend. Let's take a quick look at snow totals as what we can expect from this system. Again, this has stayed pretty consistent with our forecast. We're still thinking 1 to 2 is kind of our big frame for how much snow to expect out of this system. Is it possible you might get an isolated area that could go as high as 3? Can't rule it out totally, but those are going to be fewer and further between. 1 to 2 is the main thing we're expecting to see across central Ohio from this snowfall. And again, keep in mind some of that snow will be melting as it comes through. Here's a look at your 10 weather impact 7-day forecast, including that weather impact alert day for Friday morning. Again, this is not a major snow, just an inconveniently timed one for some of those drivers out there tomorrow morning. So add a little extra time to commute, but don't plan to make any monumental shifts in what you need to do for tomorrow. Of course, those temperatures out there will be on the chilly side, but not as cold as today. The real bitter cold air gets back in as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Single digits both mornings. I think we'll see some sub-zero wind chills out there as well. Highs only in the teens on Saturday. We make it back to the 20s on Sunday, 30s again as we head toward Monday next week, 40s even by Tuesday. And then we got to keep an eye on some rain snow chances as we head deeper into the week. But right now, the temperatures at least stay on the warm side. That high back up to around 39 by the time we head toward Wednesday. So certainly not a terrible forecast from the perspective of what we're seeing out there with snow chances in cold. We've certainly dealt with worse already this winter, and I think we'll deal with worse again as we progress through the season. I don't think we're quite done yet with some of those snow chances, but this one is just more of an inconvenient timing, so we want to make sure that you are ready for it before it gets here. And sticking with our cold weather, a portion of the Ohio River near Cincinnati, well, that's frozen in all of this cold. And as more winter weather hits parts of the region this week, I expect more scenes like this to be in the picture. The city saw about 4 to 5 inches of snow earlier this week out there, kind of covering up some of that ice. If you're thinking about driving to take a look how it's affected the ferry boats, well, one ferry that takes people across the river into Kentucky had to actually pause all of its rides because there was so much ice on the river. Kind of a crazy scene down there. And in another story, officials say a man is alive after his attempt at a selfie led him to get trapped in an icy pond. This was to our west in Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Fire Department says he ventured across the surface of the pond there to get a selfie near a fountain with colorful lights. The department says 35-year-old man fell in, but was able to grab onto the ice to stay afloat. Firefighters say the man's cell phone was critical in the end, but not for that photo, as he used it to call 911. A good story there to remind you guys about ice safety with, because that ice out there, while it may look solid, it's not likely to be thick enough to venture out on, even with all the cold weather that we've had. Ice with 2 inches or less, absolutely a dangerous situation. You do not want to be out on ice that thin. Really, you need to get to about 4 inches before you're safe enough to be walking out there doing something like ice fishing. It takes some pretty thick ice, 4 inches of ice, and that's just for you and maybe a pet. If you're thinking about a snowmobile or an ATV, you need to be up to 5 to 6 inches of ice before you are into the safe category for that. A vehicle, you're needing 8 to a foot of ice to get out there on those frozen lakes. And if you're driving a truck, that can go over a foot to 15 inches before that is safely doable. So again, just a reminder, stay off the ice. It is not likely thick enough to be safe to do so, even with all the cold. In another part of the country, sticking with our snow weather coverage and ice coverage, a roof at a church collapsed this week. That was in Virginia. Thankfully, no one was inside. This happened earlier in the week after the East Coast got hit with more winter weather from this past weekend. That weight can build up on those roofs and really take a toll if you're not expecting it. And speaking of ice, back closer to home, an icy mess has been left around the region, especially on 17th Avenue, after the owners of some cars were hit with a water leak. 10 TV's Catherine Simon spoke to an insurance expert about what you can do to protect your property and your money.
We're standing next to this frozen mess on East 17th Avenue. Now, we're still working to confirm exactly what caused all of this, but you can see behind me one car and another one behind it frozen and stuck.
We're in a no-win situation. Don't know what to do.
Scott Boham says following the winter storm and a water leak, his and his brother's cars are trapped.
So when they plowed, all the water came with it and just threw it up on the car and it all turned to ice.
We saw similar scenes like this one earlier this week in Columbus's Hilltop neighborhood. Bankrate insurance analyst Shannon Martin says if you find yourself stuck in a situation like this, you should take pictures of the damage and check to see if you have comprehensive coverage.
It's kind of the life happens coverage. So it pays to repair your vehicle from damage other than a collision. So fire, theft, vandalism, and then extreme weather, frozen, icicles hitting your car, tree branches hitting your car, things like that.
Martin says there are ways to make it more affordable.
One mistake that people make is when they're looking to reduce the cost of their car insurance, they take off comprehensive and collision because their car's a little bit older. But those are usually two separate coverages, and comprehensive is much more affordable.
How frustrating is this for you?
Very, very.
But until this ice is cleared, Boham won't know the extent of the damage.
We've been snowed in a couple times, but we've always been able to dig it out. This is the first time it's been like this.
Martin says things like this aren't really preventable for car owners, but she does recommend that policyholders keep up with their regular maintenance because she says if it's damage that you could have prevented, your insurance may not cover it. Reporting in South Linden, Catherine Simon, 10 TV News.
Thanks, Catherine, for that report. Of course, it's not all bad news with the cold weather. When schools closed last week, a group of kids in Clintonville decided a snow day didn't have to be spent indoors. They bundled up and turned their backyard into a construction zone. 10 TV's Stacey Niken and photojournalist Travis Anyette have that story.
We had the last week off because of the snowtropolis, and then on Thursday we just decided to build an igloo.
I mean, it's a really cool thing to build.
We thought it was going to be like a one-day project, but it's turned into, how many days has it been?
Oh, that's cool. You just start with finding an area that's not super close to your house.
Perfect.
We made ours about 10 feet in diameter,
We might need some right here.
and then you just start building it vertical from there.
Right here?
Yeah. It's all about the teamwork, really.
Okay, I can't do 5 jobs at once.
You need to make sure we hold the brick.
I can hold it if you want.
And we have this substance called cement. It's literally just snow and water. Might just need to level it off with some cement. And overnight it cools down and it like freezes, so it holds the brick in place. So it's really strong.
Piece by piece.
Yeah, let's do this one first.
Okay.
We thought that if we were gonna actually take the time to do it, color and make it twice as cool.
It's amazing.
A lot of people have doubled up gloves.
It's really cold.
If you hand warmers, 2 pairs of socks.
Careful.
And then constantly taking breaks and going inside hot chocolate.
That will work.
The hardest part was once it started curving, it made the building way harder.
Got it?
I got it, yeah. Ideally, it would be fully covered on top.
Maybe we'll probably finish it very soon, hopefully.
We can still work on it after school.
It's as good as I can get it.
It turned out super cool. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna forget it.
Really cool story there. And happening today, it's National Weatherperson's Day. Commemorates the birth of John Jeffries, one of America's first weather observers who began taking daily weather observations in Boston all the way back in 1774. To celebrate, we went around the weather team and asked each of us meteorologists what our favorite weather is to forecast. And I want to mention you'll see a new face here as well, as we're happy to introduce our new chief meteorologist, Chris Tomer. A favorite type of weather to forecast is kind of an interesting question because it's weather's disruptive to people's lives, but then again, as meteorologists, we're always kind of interested in it. I think I'm more of a springtime thunderstorm type of guy. I've had experience forecasting everything from lake effect snow to dust storms across the country, and thunderstorms definitely get me the most interested.
Well, it's hard for me because here in Ohio, I love forecasting severe weather. There's just something about it. I think maybe it stems from my childhood interest that got me into the business, but I also love tropical weather. Everything about tropical systems just fascinates me. But severe weather a little closer to home.
All right, so one of my favorite types of weather to forecast, of course, is thunderstorms and severe weather. But growing up in the Midwest and living and working in the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, I really enjoy winter storms and blizzards. So if I had to pick one, it'd be that.
I think my favorite weather to forecast has kind of stayed pretty consistent over the years, more of colder, snowy weather. I know a lot of meteorologists love storm chasing and forecasting tornadoes, and I think that's pretty interesting, but I think my sort of preference is for the colder and the snowier side of things.
Happy Weatherperson's Day out there to all of the 10 Weather Impact team, and always enjoy the forecasting. And just because it's cold outside doesn't mean you need to stay inside. There's plenty of ways to get out and explore Ohio this season. The Ohio Department of Development mapped out a winter scenic road trip for families to enjoy if you want to get out into the cold. It features 10 stops outdoors across the Buckeye State to give you a chance to enjoy nature. The stops have suggestions on what you can do while you're there as well, and also where to stay and eat during the road trip. The Central Ohio stops include the Battle-Darby Creek Metro Park and Hocking Hills State Park. We have the road trip posted on our website, 10tv.com. Of course, we are not too far away from the winter season being done. In fact, Cedar Point, they're starting to hire. If you're interested in that, they open heading into May. You can count down the days until that warmer weather is here. But of course, before we get there, we've got more cold to get through over the next couple of days. We'll be tracking the latest on the snowfall and the cold temperatures heading into the weekend. That'll be with me later tonight, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. And of course, back here again at 11. Till then, you can find more online, 10tv.com. Have a great afternoon.